So a bunch of you guys have asked me about indexing broadheads. And personally, I don't really think it makes a whole lot of difference. I was able to determine there is a slight difference when shooting with a hooter shooter, but me shooting, I don't really see the difference. But it's one of those things that kind of gives people confidence. It's a thing to tinker with. One of the things you're going to find, number one, if you're shooting an outsert type style, mainly because, so you have your insert, and there's your collar that goes in there, right? And you can see, it's like on this gold tip one, you can slide the collar all the way through. Some of these, like Ethics Archery and some of the other ones, the collar actually rests on the metal of the outsert that sticks out of the shaft, which I think is actually a little bit better in some cases, although I haven't had any structural problems with these, shooting them out of arrows and whatever. I did a bunch of testing on that as well. But one of the things you're going to find out is if you take a broadhead and you would think if you screw it in all the way right into the insert where it stops, that's where that broadhead rests. But in reality, when you have the collar on there and it's adhered to your shaft, or not adhered, but it's on the shaft rather. I don't think I got the right collar right now, but yeah, wrong one. Once it's on there, basically, I don't know if you can see that or not, but what ends up happening is with the collar on there, it's actually not even threaded all the way down. It ends up being somewhere around there. And every broadhead's a little different. It depends on the length of the threaded shaft. The shank is almost always going to be the same, but 9 times out of 10, this length back here is different. Now, I should have grabbed another broadhead. Let me see if I got one right here so I could show you. Okay, there's a practice Schwacker head. And if you hold these up side by side, actually these are pretty darn close. Some of them are different. Anyway, so it's really important. The first step you got to do is to take a package of broadheads, right, and screw them onto one shaft. And if they all line up in the same spot, then you know that the threading on these were all started the same. That's the first and most important thing you got to do. What I found is almost no broadhead. If you get a pack, so I got 6 brand new iron wheels right here. Okay, so these are single bevel iron wheels, and it just so happens, and I found this to be true with the rest of the iron wheels. There's usually 2 thread patterns, and I'll show you this on this arrow right here. Okay, so when I screw this one on, and I've gone through all 6 of these already, this one lines up, doesn't line up perfectly with my vein. Okay, it's almost perpendicular to the cock vein, right? And 3 of them are exactly the same. You thread them in, they land exactly in the same spot. And then the other 3, the first 3, land exactly in the same spot too. And this one is lined up with my cock vein. And you can see that, right? This is one that I had indexed off of another broadhead. So you have to go through and make sure. Now, some of these really cheap heads, I find that most of the higher end heads, 1, 2, maybe 3 thread patterns, but a lot of these throwaway ones, they're super inconsistent. So you literally have to set each individual head to each arrow, and you'll never be able to interchange broadheads with arrows. So currently right now with the iron wills, I either have an arrow that accepts the one or the other thread patterns, and it's so if the first one doesn't line up with I know the next one will. So once you've determined whether or not you have a multiple number or infinite number of thread patterns, or if it's just 2 or 3. 3 is kind of where I draw the line, but you stick your insert in the shaft, and I kind of look for a spot that feels like it's, by turning it a little bit, that kind of grabs. It's funny, some of them seem to grab in some spots or not, and it's probably just a little imperfections, I guess. But let me say this beforehand. Thread this all the way into your insert first, then take it out, and then put it back in the shaft. And the reason why, that way you don't have any catch points. Then take the collar, put the collar on, snug it down as tight as you can, and then what you need to do is put your broadhead in, and you tighten it right to the point where it's going to start spinning the insert in, okay? And then on these gold tip ones, you just pull it straight out, and you pull it out of the collar just like that. And then I take a black marker, black Sharpie marker, which I'm going to show you that close up. I got it's the black Sharpie marker, and put that line there in line with the blade. Okay. Now I know that if I take my shaft, okay, or I take my insert, set this broadhead aside, grab my shaft, get some glue. Now, one of the things that I learned is I hold my fingers on either side of the line. One, so I don't wipe it off, and 2, it kind of gives me an easier way to line it up visually. Okay, so I got some glue on this insert, and now what I do is I put the shaft in, and instead of rotating the insert, I rotate the shaft, and then I have this marked already. Right here. No, I just kind of missed the mark, and that glue's already set. That glue's crazy. But it's just slightly off. Anyway, I got that, and I have a shaft marking right there where I'm going to set my vanes. Or you could already have your vanes on. I personally just didn't do that yet, but now when I put the collar back on, I'll take that broadhead, and I thread it on here, tighten it. It should be lined up, and like I said, I missed the mark by like a hair, but that's pretty darn close. That's pretty darn close. You got to be careful with some of those fast setting glues. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Super easy. Like I said, I'm not sure I shoot well enough to notice the difference, but I can see a difference when I shoot with a shooting machine. So if it's something you want to do to pick up just that little bit extra, that's one thing you can do. Thanks.